Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Albert Hall. I've spent 40 years in the IT industry, and in that time, I have seen many games change, and the business of game changing happening time in and time out. I've also spent some time in public service, doing various things, as many of you have done with a health service or whatever. And my most miserable time in public service was 3 years spent on the board of the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, hated by 650 MPs, but we put in place a system which meant that you could no longer cheat on your expenses if you're in a Member of Parliament. More importantly, though, and we should be very proud about this as Brits, anybody in the UK can log on to the IPSA website, use the internet, and see how much their MP or any MP has spent on anything, everything, from toilet paper to travel. More importantly than that, though, anybody in the world can log on and look at that website, and it's the only one in the world, and a reason for us to be British, those of us who are British, to be proud of us achieving this. Anyone in the world can look on and see how much our legislators are spending out of our money and what they're doing in running their lives. That democratizing of information we now take for granted. That idea that you can log onto the internet and find out facts, and from those facts make democratic decisions, is something that in 2014 we all take for granted. And our next speaker is one of the pioneers who made that possible. There can't be anybody in the room here who hasn't settled a dinner party argument by logging onto Wikipedia to find out the facts. Will you all join me in welcoming the Wikipedia visionary founder, Jimmy Wales?
Wow, what a room. It's pretty spectacular. So good morning, or I should say good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you very quickly today about the topic of mobile for good and the role that mobile telephony is playing, particularly in the developing world today. So we're going to start here with the original vision statement for Wikipedia, and that's for all of us to imagine a world in which every single person on the planet is given free access to the sum of all human knowledge. That's what we're doing at Wikipedia, and every element of this vision statement is really important. In particular, I want you to focus on every single person on the planet. That's really important. It means that our mission is inherently global, and free access to the sum of all human knowledge. We want people to be able to access Wikipedia for as low cost as possible. So we've been around for 13 years now. During that time, we've written over 32 million articles across 287 different languages. Now, this number, 287, I think is a little bit optimistic. Some of the languages that are listed there are very, very small. There's actually about 220 languages that have at least 1,000 entries, and those are the ones that I really feel like are launched. There's still a lot of languages where we barely have any content at all, just we have the interface translated and that's it. So there's still a long way to go in terms of reaching every single person on the planet, and that's increasingly a focus of our work. So every month now, we have 550 million people using the website. So this is an astonishing thing to think about. This is about 1/3 of everyone who's on the internet every month. And it means that Wikipedia has become part of the infrastructure of the world. Everyone is using it, everyone is depending on it. And for us, this places a really heavy responsibility on us to do as good a job as we possibly can to have the best possible information. Now, one of the big trends that we are seeing in our traffic and that we know is happening worldwide is the growth in mobile. And so if you talk to people and you hear something about mobile phones in Africa, well, here's what you know. This is the sort of thing that you hear people say all the time. They say things like, oh, yeah, I heard about this. I read that in Africa, farmers can text across town to different markets to find out where the best price is and cut out the middleman and not get ripped off and make a little bit more money. You hear things like cell phones are being used to fight malaria, that people can use SMS and contact the health authorities to let them know that there's a malaria outbreak in a certain area and that sort of thing. Well, these things are true enough, but I think that they cloud your mind. If this is the way you're thinking about mobile in Africa and in the developing world, you're really missing the bigger picture, something really important that's going on. And here's what you probably don't know. So this is my phone here. A friend of mine bought this phone for me in Kenya a couple of years ago. This phone today sells for less than $50. This is an Android phone, a Google phone. It has apps. You can play Angry Birds on it. You can do everything that you can do on your phone. The difference is the screen's a little bit smaller. The battery actually lasts for 2 days, which I bet you can't say about your iPhone. It's not a great phone, but it's perfectly functional. I use this phone, until very recently, I use this phone every day as my main phone here in London. There are other phones now. This one's now a couple years old. There are other phones that have come out. The cheapest Android phone that I've found so far is for about $31 US. And that phone matches up to the specifications of the original iPhone. Not perfectly, but pretty well. It almost sort of point for point, screen size, quality of screen, all that sort of thing. $31. So these phones are being sold. Hundreds of thousands of just this model have been sold across Africa. Now we're getting into millions and tens of millions of people are coming online for the first time using a mobile device. So the question is, what are people doing? When these people, tens of millions of people, are coming online for the first time, what are they doing on their phone? Are they searching for prices for crops? Are they reporting malaria outbreaks? Well, maybe. You know, those things do happen. But if that's what you're thinking about, again, you're really missing the bigger picture, the really interesting things that are happening. What are the top websites across Africa? It's Google, Facebook, Twitter, Wikipedia, local newspapers. The point I'm making here is that when people come online for the first time, they're joining the global community. They're joining the global conversation in very normal and ordinary ways. And if your model for thinking about what's happening in Africa is about texting to find out crop prices or report malaria outbreaks, you're missing that Africans are joining the global conversation in a really, really big way. So now I want to talk about what we're doing. So given this fact, given what's happening, that more and more people are coming online from the developing world, I want to talk to you about just one project that's been put forward by the Wikipedia community. And this is, so one of the things we know, Wikipedia is the most viewed health resource online, #1. It's the #1 place people turn to for health information, which, as I say, it's a really heavy responsibility. And so there's a group of people within English Wikipedia in particular, but it has its counterparts in other languages, called Wiki Project Medicine. So Wiki Project Medicine, you know, there's a bunch of people there. A lot of them are doctors or health workers of various kinds. Many of them are just ordinary Wikipedians who've taken an interest in the area and want to help out, help monitor, help improve, help make sure that those articles are being very strongly looked after to give the highest quality information that we can give. And one of the things that they're doing, I wanted to specifically highlight because I think it's really amazing. And I just heard about this. And this is the interesting thing, is that I just heard about this. This kind of thing goes on within our community. Thousands of projects like this all the time. And we don't direct it from the top down. This comes up from the community. So this is a chart showing the very tragic and very frightening Ebola outbreak that's happening right now. If you have only seen a few hyped news stories, I strongly recommend that you go to Wikipedia and read the full article, the full story. It's not going to affect us here, but it's going to have a major, major impact in Liberia and some of the other countries. And it's out of control. It's a massively growing health problem. And one of the issues that's going on is that there are unbelievable rumors out there about Ebola. Some of these hoaxes, people have directly tied it to deaths. People were told from reading social media and so forth that there was a saltwater cure for Ebola. And so people were ignoring proper health advice and trying the saltwater cure. And it's resulted in deaths. And this kind of misinformation will result in many, many more deaths. And in fact, the lack of access to information will also result in thousands and thousands of deaths. So for us, we think this is, you know, a really huge part of our mission. So then we have our English Wikipedia entry on Ebola virus disease. It is a very long article, a very good, very high quality article with a lot of people looking after it and editing it and making sure that it's as good as possible. And within the Wiki project Medicine, there's a subgroup, a task force called the Medical Translation Task Force. So the MTP-TTF, we love our acronyms. We're like the military or something. We love an acronym. So the MTP-TTF has put forward this project where they take our best entries on medical issues and get them translated into various languages. They have partnered all on their own. Again, I just heard about this. This is not the kind of thing that needs our top-down supervision. So they partnered with Translators Without Borders and Rubric, which is a translation company, and they translate these medical entries. And just recently, they did a project in August to translate our entry on Ebola into 60 different African languages. And I'll just click through them quickly here. This isn't all 60, but these are some of the languages that we got these things translated into. And to me, this is an astounding thing, because many of these people, when we think about the next 100 million people, next 200 million people coming online, they mostly don't speak English and they don't speak French. They're speaking their native tongue, and they need health information in their native tongue. So we've got all these different languages that this community has found people to translate these entries into. This was my favorite one, because when I came to this language, I had never even heard of it, nor had I ever even seen letters like that. And I thought I'd seen every script in the world. So it's an amazing group of people doing really amazing work to do exactly the core mission of Wikipedia, which is to let's share knowledge freely with everyone on the planet. So then next steps. One of the biggest questions we have, how can people read Wikipedia? We know that they're coming online for the first time, but one of the things we know is that data charges are very expensive. So we have a program called Wikipedia Zero, and this is when we think about free access to the sum of all human knowledge. With Wikipedia Zero, we've gone out to the mobile carriers in many, many countries in the developing world, and we negotiate with them and we convince them to offer Wikipedia for free of charge, so that there's no data charges. This is really, really important for people who cannot afford Wikipedia on their phone, and it's particularly important in any kind of a crisis situation like we have right now, where we really want to make sure that people can get access to the information that they need. We've had a lot of success with this program, but as you can see, we've still got a long way to go. These are the countries where it's up and running. There are several other countries in Africa and in South America where negotiations are underway, and we expect these deals to be concluded soon. And for me, this is one of the most important pieces of work that we're doing at Wikipedia today. One of the things that was really interesting that happened here is that we had a group of teenagers in South Africa who they had heard about this project, and they made an online petition asking their cell carriers to do the same. And I have a video of these kids, and I'm going to show it to you now. So here we go. Here's the video.
Hi, this is a letter which me and my classmate wrote to access Wikipedia for free. It goes as follows.
Open letter to Cell C, MTN, Vodacom, and ATA.
We are learners in grade 12 at Sinenjong High School, Joslovo Park, Milnerton, Cape Town.
We recently heard that in some other African countries like Kenya and Uganda,
Cell phone providers are offering their customers free access to Wikipedia. We think this is a wonderful idea and would really like to encourage you also to make the same offer here in South Africa.
Our school does not have a library.
90% of us have cell phones, but it is expensive for us to buy airtime.
So if we could get free access to Wikipedia,
it will make a huge difference to us.
Normally, when we do research, Wikipedia is one of the best sites,
and there is information on just about every topic.
Think of the boost that it will give us as students and to the whole education system of South Africa.
Our education system needs help, and having access to Wikipedia would make a very positive difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Engos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is an open letter to the youth of South Africa and the student of Sinenjongo High School in Cape Town. You recently shared a video asking South Africa's cellular networks to give their customers free access to Wikipedia.
We think this is a wonderful idea.
We know that many school children in this country don't have access to research material, which can make excelling at school so much more difficult.
That's why MTN is proud to be the first South African cellular network to make Wikipedia free.
Jimmy, thank you. That was well, it's a very uplifting ending. I'm sure there are many questions here from the audience, but we only have 5 minutes. Let me ask a big one. You're clearly driven by public good and social contribution and so on, and that was a very moving film there. And you've been a pioneer in the open source world and making information free and democratization and so on, which I'm sure everybody in the room would be massively supportive of. But what are the money-making opportunities in this open source, free, libertarian model? Because obviously you're asked this a lot and you've thought about it a lot.
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, there are a lot of different impacts that this kind of thing is having on business. I mean, if we look at, just as one example, the internet itself, the vast majority of the infrastructure of the internet runs on open source software, which was developed largely by volunteers, shared freely under an open licensing model. And that baseline of free computing software has empowered a massive generation of entrepreneurs. If when I started Wikipedia, if I had had to pay I don't know, $20,000 for a license for Oracle database, I wouldn't have been able to start the project. I would have had to, it would have been very difficult. But instead, you can get, quite robust software free off the shelf and just go and start building something. So that's just one example. I also think, speaking more broadly, I think projects like Wikipedia give real opportunities for, well, like these kids you see. Because if people have access to the ability to educate themselves or to have their teachers be able to educate them more effectively because they have access to information and materials to learn from, they're going to become more productive, more creative, more entrepreneurial, and lots of amazing things are going to happen off the back of that.
So you're seeing it perhaps as fuel to a more entrepreneurial environment rather than businesses taking advantage of, say, Wikipedia per se. Are there people taking commercial advantage of Wikipedia?
No, not really. I mean, there are various things, obviously. When you search for things at Google, you see the Google Knowledge Graph or their little info boxes. A lot of that information comes from us. Obviously, Google finds that quite beneficial. Right. But there are also other things. So, for example, at Wikia is my for-profit company where we have 200,000 wiki communities writing about, mostly about video games and TV shows. They're very passionate communities around all those things, and it's an advertising-supported model. So it's different from Wikipedia, which is the charitable model, but it also works, and it's an advertising-supported model.
And just to press that a bit further, that balance between doing good with the charitable piece and making money on the other side, how have you have you always thought that way? Have you always done that sort of thing, or has this emerged over the wiki story? I
mean, I think to some extent it's emerged. I mean, I think that we now live in an era where the opportunities for combining the two things are greater than ever before, and in no small part because of the incredible rise of the power of word-of-mouth marketing. That if you have a story like Tom's Shoes, for example, where Tom's Shoes, when you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes in the developing world. That's a story that's very compelling, and people will tell that story. I'm associated with a mobile phone company here in the UK called the People's Operator, where we give 10% of your bill to the cause of your choice. That's a story that people find interesting, and they go out and they tell their friends, and they sign people up, so we don't have to spend money on TV commercials and billboards. So it's both a way of doing good, but it's also a way of running a smart business by taking advantage of a new media environment where, in the past, if you loved something or you hated something, some business, you might tell 5 people. Now you post on Facebook, particularly young people, you post on Facebook and you tell 200 people. Yeah. And so ideas spread faster than ever before, particularly online, but I think it has enormous ramifications for all kinds of businesses.
Very interesting, very helpful. Let's keep that sort of movement. So we've got the idea of marrying these two sides of a discussion together, for-profit and not-for-profit. Take that whole model forward. Wikipedia's come an enormous distance since you started it. No one believed it at the beginning. The traditional encyclopedias attacked you, etc., etc. That noise seems to have gone now. So you've created a new model. Run this out for us over, say, 5 years or some reasonable horizon. Where do you see the Wikipedia phenomenon going?
Well, I mean, I think for us the biggest thing is the growth in the languages of the developing world. This is something that's going to be invisible to most of us because whatever language we speak, if it's English, for example, we already have a huge Wikipedia and so on. And you probably haven't noticed that there's been explosive growth in the Kazakh language Wikipedia in the last 3 years, but there has been. And you know, that's remarkable. And for us as an organization, this is one of our core values. Actually, one of the interesting things about Wikipedia, one of the reasons that we don't go with an advertising model is that the staff, everybody, the entire DNA of the organization is focused on that mission statement of every single person on the planet. Whereas if we were advertising supported, so at Wikia we're advertising supported, and you know what? We care about Kazakhstan, but only so much. There's not a well-developed advertising market there, right? We're happy if Kazakhs are writing about Game of Thrones or whatever they might want to do. Whereas at Wikipedia, it remains sort of front and center. These projects like Wikipedia Zero, efforts even within our community to say, how can we help boost the Swahili Wikipedia? They need some help. They need more volunteers. Can we help find some for that? That kind of thing is so deeply ingrained in our culture, partly because we are a mission-driven nonprofit organization.
Brilliant. Well, Jimmy, there's so much more we could ask you, but I see we're out of time. On behalf of everybody, can I thank you again for what you've done for the planet and very, very much for coming to share it with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.